how residents can protect themselves. If they have lead plumbing, for instance, lead solder in their plumbing. There are a lot of water filters that are very, very effective at removing lead. You'd want to investigate that and do some research to make sure that filter is effective at removing lead, but a lot of the major brands are good at that.
Hey Raleigh, curious about how things really work in your capital city? We've got answers straight from the experts that make it happen. Welcome to Your City Answered. I'm Katie Dombrowski. While Raleigh's drinking water leaves the treatment plant lead-free and there are no known lead service lines in its system, older plumbing can sometimes pose a risk. You may have received a letter because the city is actively mapping and checking pipe materials to protect public health. So is there lead in your water pipes? Let's sit down and get answers from Raleigh Water Assistant Director Ed Buchan.
This question is one that we've been hearing quite a lot about lately, and much of this is due to a letter that we recently sent out. And I will go ahead and be very candid and say that a lot of the text in that letter is required by the EPA. The EPA...
So before you keep going, what is the EPA?
Okay, that is the United States Environmental Protection Agency. They are in charge of implementing the Safe Drinking Water Act. And as part of that, we always want to make sure the water is safe to our customers. And lead has long been something that has been regulated through the Safe Drinking Water Act. So I will also highlight, this is probably the most important takeaway out of this whole conversation, which is we have never found a lead line in our service area. Much of Raleigh's growth occurred probably in the 90s until now. So those systems those areas are much newer, and so we don't have to worry about that. But there are parts of Raleigh that are very old, and we also serve 6 other communities outside of Raleigh that have these little small downtowns that are pretty old. But even in those areas, we've never found a lead service line. There's all sorts of different materials that you might see: PVC, copper, galvanized, cast iron, all of these different materials, but to date, no lead. So that's the important takeaway there. However, doesn't mean there is absolutely no lead in the drinking water in certain places, certain houses. So what do I mean by that? Technically, in an older house, you could have the plumbing inside of it could be copper with lead solder. Solder is what they kind of join the copper together with. So there could be some sort of exposure there, which is why we've always, as a utility, offered free lead testing. Many systems do not do that. We do. So if you've ever have a concern about that, you can call our main number, 919-996-3245, and ask for a free lead test.
So you, a few minutes ago, said that there are homes that may have lead pipes inside that are older. And so what can we tell our residents who think maybe, I have lead pipes and that means my water's not safe to drink at home?
Great question. So there's a lot to unpack there. I would say, first of all, get a lead test. You can use us. Wake County can do it as well. But usually our turnaround time is 5 to 10 days. And we will bring the lead test to your house, and we will pick it up, and then we will let you know what those results are. So that's where I would start. And also, generally speaking, lead in plumbing and in domestic plumbing was no longer an issue after 1986. It was prohibited after that. Mm-hmm. So if your house is built after 1986, you're going to be okay. You can also have a plumber. If you're unsure about what kind of plumbing you have in your house, you can probably look it up on YouTube, of course, but you can also have a plumber come by and say, hey, what's under my house? What's under my sinks? Is that copper? Is that lead solder? So you can have that sort of verified as well.
Is there any sort of treatment or things that you do to treat the water to protect from lead from a water plant or water treatment side?
So for the record, I did not plant that question. That is exactly what I was going to talk to you about next, is that we do add a anti-corrosion chemical to the drinking water. We've done that for a very, very long time. And what that does, that coats the inside of the public water distribution system, and the service line that goes from our public water main to the meter, from the meter to your house, and the plumbing inside your house. So it coats that whole water distribution system and plumbing to prevent lead from leaching out.
That's great.
And we're actually, as I am speaking now, we're combining another corrosion inhibitor chemical to really make it even that much more effective. The letter also focuses on the service line, right? So people might hear that term and not know what it means. The service line is kind of a tricky subject, but really on the water side, it goes from the line that's usually on the street to the water meter that's in front of your house. And that water meter is going to be located in what we call the right-of-way. So that's usually where the sidewalk is and part of the street and that sort of thing. So that's technically publicly owned. And the city is responsible for that line.
And for people who don't have a sidewalk, it's usually the first 3 to 6 feet, sometimes maybe a little more.
Correct.
Off of the curb, right? Back into your yard.
You got it, exactly.
Okay.
Actually, the sidewalks kind of interfere with where we put our meters, quite frankly.
Right.
And so you'll see that in older parts of Raleigh. We prefer to have that water meter kind of further in, away from the street to keep it from getting hit by cars
Mine's
and whatever.
closer to my house in Raleigh.
But then the other part of the service line that's privately owned goes from the water meter into your house. Mm-hmm. So the homeowner or the property owner is responsible for that line. Same with this, basically the same idea with the sewer as well. So what you could have is that line could be made out of galvanized steel.
What do you say to residents who think you should already know what kind of pipes we have under the ground?
I wish that was true. We have roughly 220,000 premises that we serve. Right now, we've used a pretty fancy machine learning model to estimate how many galvanized service lines that we have. Again, we don't think we have any lead anywhere, but galvanized service lines, there are approximately 19 to 20,000 unknowns at this point. As of today, we have 109 galvanized service lines that we are going to replace. And I think it's also important to note that the way the rule is written, if you have a galvanized service line, the private side, so this is from the meter to your house, really the only thing a utility has to do is let you know and say, hey, you got a galvanized service line, that's yours. You should probably do something about that.
Do we give residents any sort of, or do those people give residents any sort of resources or information on how to
I'm going to one-up you on that because our director has made the decision to replace that line on the city's dime.
Wow.
So we are taking that extra step to remove all those galvanized service lines, no matter what, private or public. So in a lot of ways, it doesn't matter. I made a big point about delineating those two, but in terms of replacement, it's going to happen, and the utility is going to take care of that. So we are really trying to go the extra mile to make sure that we're going to remove all the galvanized lines in our system in the coming years.
At no cost to our residents.
That's the intention, yes.
That's amazing.
And I would also mention something earlier you talked about how residents can protect themselves. If they have lead plumbing, for instance, lead solder in their plumbing. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of water filters that are very, very effective at removing lead. So,
You mean like a Brita pitcher?
Yep.
Oh, wow, okay.
So, you'd want to investigate that and do some research to make sure that filter is effective at removing lead. But a lot of the major brands are good at that. If you go to our website and just search Raleigh and lead, L-E-A-D, there's a lot of resources there that you can click on and gives you a lot of advice about how to minimize your potential exposure to lead. And I'll also add that we have changed up some of the language on those web pages to make it a little more clear.
So it sounds like we've sent out a letter and we want to help our residents, but we're also asking for their help so that we can address any type of possible lead, which we don't think we have, but we just want to make sure we're safe moving forward.
Yes, that is, as with anything, we're going to need the help from the residents. And so when you get this letter, if you get a letter like this, if possible, I know it's long, please read it in its entirety. And if you need to call us, please do. Please respond to anything that we ask about, because this helps us schedule when to replace lines and kind of coordinate all of that. We can't do it all at once, so we have to kind of figure out certain areas where we're going to do it. And again, just to kind of circle all the way back, if your home is newer than 1986, you probably don't have anything to worry about. So even if you get a letter, it may be unknown, but it's probably copper or PVC or something like that, one of those two things. But if it is an older home, certainly let us know when you get that letter, and we're going to try to address that.
Got a question you'd like us to dig into? We'd love to hear it. Visit RaleighNC.gov and search podcast to submit your questions. Plus, catch every episode. Thanks for listening to Your City Answered, where your questions lead the conversation. Brought to you by the City of Raleigh.